such an important part of the overall game plan for LE that I'm curious to see if they can get that going against what is arguably a more talented opponent here in the form of Six Karma. But we'll jump straight into the ban phase to get us started here, and let's see who will not be making an appearance here on this theme park. Been some interesting bans out there in the world of SFCL lately, Light Rose. Some serious variety, more than I think I expected.
Yeah, and theme park can enable that. It can give you some of those maybe atypical bans. I think Thermite being banned is something you can throw into the mix that feels a little viable. It's kind of crazy. I don't think we're gonna see it, but Thermite could be a genuine ban that will make it harder for the defense. And if you know your way kind of around how to open these doors, and well, you have some way to really work around that. But Dekebi, Thatcher, those are pretty typical bans, and I expect the defense to follow suit. Potentially a Mira, Valkyrie. I mean, is a Zombie and Soulless better on theme park? I feel like they're not as strong as the other ones. So we should see them make it through.
I mean, I think I would argue a Zombie is good everywhere. But that's neither here nor there. Kaid getting taken off the board, I guess not necessarily a huge surprise. I think that's an interesting choice because I just don't feel as a map, the hard breach denial and the hard breach gameplay is necessarily super impactful, barring, I think, one, maybe just kind of like one or two sites here. But hey, fine, sure enough. For reference, by the way, Dokkaebi is the favored ban of Lycus Empire. I think they banned her in at least 2 out of 3 of their matches here now. And then, of course, the Soulless getting taken off. I don't think that should surprise anyone. That said, that does leave some very impactful operators on the defensive side. There just aren't enough bans these days, Light Rose, to cover the house because you've got Mira, you've got Valkyrie, and you have the Azami, all capable of being brought here.
I wonder, do you think we're getting to the point with the amount of operators that we have that we're going to see 3 bans on both sides soon? Like, is that even feasible? Would we have to dedicate 2 attacker bans, 2 defender bans, or are we just gonna kind of suffer and hope that no whack balancing changes happen that just make like 7 operators super strong so you can't ban them all?
I don't know that a 3-ban system would honestly be that effective. 4 bans, or the 2 bans aside, I mean, it works for what it is. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they're like, oh, we're going to do 3 bans now. The 2 bans work. I think it's just a matter of kind of, being more adaptive in your gameplay. For every solid sort of defensive operator that does get through, there are counters and there are ways to play around it. For example, if you're running into a Valk, okay, well, you got to bring the IQ. You got to start thinking about maybe using a Brava or something like that. So I don't necessarily think that more bans are the answer, but it is a very interesting question because that roster is only going to get bigger and bigger. And some of the newest operators, I'm looking specifically at Soulless and Azami, have been very strong indeed on that defensive side.
It's a thing of, is an operator being banned a lot warrants like changes from them? Like Jackal is still banned a lot. We see it in the mid-season patch notes. And he is not strong. Like, he is not a crazy operator. The only reason why he gets banned is because people banned him when he was strong, like, a year ago. And it's just been and that and Thatcher. Like, Thatcher bans still are viable because he is a pretty good counter to wall denial. But it's honestly just a lot of reflex. Saying, we don't have an attacker ban. Let's take out Jackal. Let's take out Thatcher. And I'm not talking about in comp. I'm mostly talking about in rank, unranked. Those type of game modes you're going to see just taking out whatever is easiest, whatever is convenient. And it's always Jackal Thatcher because that's what we've always seen.
Yep. I was just playing today a game of unranked. And sure, that was the bans. Across 3 different maps, it was Jackal Thatcher. And I don't know. I think most Thatcher bans these days are slightly reflexive, and I know that we've seen one in this match, and I don't necessarily think it's ever a bad ban, per se. I just don't know if it's a super critical one, is really honestly how I would put it. But there's your defensive lineup from Lycus Empire. A pretty effective one, very anti-drone, which, before the theme park rework, I always felt like anti-drone operations were such a huge part of this map. Still very much a thing. wanting to shut down enemy kind of intel gathering. We've seen it multiple times actually so far in here in SFCL. Teams that are kind of ineffective at using intel generally tend to suffer the most. Interesting that they're still using Brios here on the mute as kind of the bargain barrel hard breach denial operator that he is no more. But always an interesting choice for me to see a mute employed in that function, especially on a site with as much wall to cover as this throne room site. I guess he's a perfectly viable choice, honestly, when you really have nobody else left in the tank that can fill the role, unless you really want to go in on Bandit, which I don't think a lot of people want to do.
I mean, yeah, especially with Mute, the change to his radius, which happened like 3 seasons ago. Ace and Habana get a little bit more powerful with that because they can throw their charges onto the top right, top left, and get a hole in sight. And you can throw frag grenades through there. You can find some way to kill an enemy through there. It's pretty good to see happen as Machito is just going to walk in sight, take out Brios. The information was so critical in that situation. And 6 Karma, they enter the building with swagger, unwavering, take out Brios, and now focus their attention onto that site, trying for a little bit of a horizontal take here so far.
Well, I mean, he's got all his jammers down, so he is arguably one of the more expendable defenders on side at the moment. It's lucky it's not Ozone or something, you know, where you still got continuing value to could provide the team over time. That said, Skinsy got pretty badly hit there as well in that entry. So that's something that they're going to keep an eye on. Candle here, one of the top players on this Lycus Empire side, another sort of player to watch out for. I think one of the ones that has a real potential to pop off at any given moment, if he's enabled by intel from the team as well, has been incredibly effective in the past. Soko here pushing up to the cafeteria. Candle sort of just still on the roam. Light Rose looking for really anything. Cryptic's dodging that flashbang right there and doubling up, but this position feeling less and less comfortable here by the moment.
He's just gonna try to fire through that wall a pixel away from a headshot. That would have been a shot and a half, but instead having to reload, having to recoup in this cafe. The 6 Karma, they have a man count lead as our Aki Peel runs by yellow stairs, potentially a frag grenade in hand. They were seeming to be running for their life, but they end up laying with their death on their back. Soko is just going to fire through the wall again, deals more damage to Cryptics, but Lycus Empire are not wavering. It is still a 4v4. They still have a lot of players left alive and good map control, and now officially that man count is on their side.
Just not doing a good enough job here of rooting these Lycus Empire defenders out of their positions. And again, I think part of this is an intel issue as well. I don't think they have a particularly good idea where these defenders are. That said, Morph there getting a good kill into Cryptics, which I would honestly say is long overdue, way too long of a lifespan for the Oryx, given the kind of compromised position he was in. But now you're under 15 seconds, really genuinely under the gun. Skimsy here running out the Iana drone. Sako getting in on the action again, picks up one more. You're running out of time and you're running out of room. Morph has to get into a position where they can get the plant down with only 3 seconds. Candle probably just saved the day right there by clipping his wings before he could get in and start a plant. And a bit of a rough start here for 6 Karma, though I'm not going to go on a limb and say it was a particularly spectacular round from Lycus Empire either.
It was that last play trying to run through the breach was a desperation play. It wasn't one of, I'm going to be sneaky. I'm going to get into the site, try a plant down. It was there's 6 seconds left. We have no site control. Maybe something crazy will happen. So it's pretty predictable from Lycus. Everything just really went their way. Even though they were that first death, Brios had no chance to respond to anything. The patience from the defense in that first round was really nice. They kept control of that top floor, which is very big on the Armory Throne side. But you keep top floor control, you will keep that site unless you just have nobody on the site itself, which they had. Were able to keep control of everything, and 6 Karma just did not work with the haste that they really needed to throughout the entire thing, especially after getting that first kill. Going on to the second round, going to office initiation, they have to focus more on that second floor now. We'll have to see if it warrants a victory.
Yeah, I think it's probably again, this is where I start to get interested in site rotations on this map, but I guess this is a perfectly logical and sort of sensible site rotation. I like the defensive setup here. You've got the Azami in that adds just a lot of sort of staying power. Just a very overall good, well-rounded defensive operator. On the other side of the ball, I like a lot of what they're bringing in here too. The Roteros alone, I think, are going to be an absolute menace because if you look over on the side of LE, they haven't actually brought any drone denial at all. Very different from last round. So I don't think they have any sort of reliable defense against what Sako can bring to bear, which then, of course, turns the duty there of the Flores into more of a, okay, well, how are we going to use these efficiently and responsibly? I guess the answer is by blowing open a hatch on the top floor, but sometimes that's just what you got to do. Still got 3 more of them in the tank here. Skimzy looks perhaps to lead the way with the Gemini clone and just get a better idea of what's happening down here.
You can see the spacebar was trying to be pressed, trying to get that range, but the coverage from Cryptix is too strong. In that situation, down from where? Is that from Skimzy, who's in control? Don't know for sure, but the frag grenade being prepped and thrown will allow Ozone to sneak on by, get the refrag for their downed friend, but it's a 2v4. 6 Karma have the lead and have a lot of what they need in this situation. For Lycus, there is nobody inside of the site. Candle is in cash, Bryos is in armory, and 6 Karma, they have to take the site now. They're keeping Bryos in check, but Candle Peaks gets a kill onto Soko all the way in cash and is now using that talent shield, Korbeck, against the attack. Cryptix will fade away eventually as he just gets closer and closer to death. But as the peak from Akabil goes in, the revive could happen. Is it 3? No! It's only 2, and that allows 6 Karma to scrape by on their second round and win office initiation.
I think 6 Karma is lucky to get away with that one, to be honest. And again, this harkens back to what I was talking about in round 1, which was just the intel point. Really don't think that Candle should have been able to get that positioning on them the way that they did. Sort of sneaking up around by that Talon shield, getting that shot past kind of Dragon. It's just ridiculous. Like, you should, if you're going to put a Talon shield there, you should at least have a drone or something in that area, because that obviously has been identified by you as a critical juncture to hold. And then suddenly, Amira is just kind of walking up and taking that vector in at long range and making hay with it. But still, I guess 6 Karma, they managed to wrench it around, but I think they probably made that a little bit more difficult on themselves than it needed to be. At least they had decent trade game across round number 2 there, Light Rose, so they could do some work. But looking ahead now to the next bomb site, they'll go for kind of the mid site. Always interesting to see if teams will take this or if they'll go down to lab. I am eternally struck in this, eternally, I should say, stuck in the struggle of which one of those is a better site. But again, no real drone denial operators here on the board, which should indicate that Sako, again, with the Ratero, should be able to get some relative value. I mean, that said, last round, Light Rose, they didn't really take full advantage of that for util destruction. Maybe they'll change their pace here with 2 shields on the board.
I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern with 6 Karma. They were a very fast team in that first game, kept that pace up in the second round, but now we're seeing a little bit slower game from them, a lot more patience, and I think it's dialed up way too high. Like, they're being so slow, and it's really hurting. Like, they had a 2v4 in that situation and did not take the site. Everyone was clustered around control, and that really started to hurt them. Akabil doing a little bit of the opposite of what I said. Candle is going to peek at Nook, who shot the cam, and that was their undoing. Korback, Akabil gets dropped by the Warden, who's walking into cash, looking for more, and now that is the first entry from Lycus, who are looking to find more on the board.
Well, 6 Karma has to feel a little frustrated right there. Candle only making it worse, taking out Skimzy, and Candle is on their game tonight, 6-1 overall on the back of that last kill. So really feeling themselves, and this is what I was talking about, such a pop-off potential on that player, sort of stifling this entire 6 Karma attack. And again, we'll see a little bit of the adaptability of 6 Karma being tested here. How well can they function in what is admittedly a very difficult situation? They didn't even trade any health bar damage despite these 2 losses, and that just makes this even more incredibly difficult. A couple of phantom pings coming in right there. They don't act fast enough, so Morph is able to get an opening before forcing aggro back just a little bit. But still, there's plenty of positions they're going to have to root through here, Light Rose, before they can actually get anything viable going in terms of an attack.
They were able to get a small hole through the reinforced wall, which I think is the big part. It's going to be plugged up by those Kiba barriers, but 6 Karma, they're still going against the time here. Less than a minute left, and they're going to force aggro back. That's Cheeto on the Ashe, able to look down that hallway, but nobody on Lycus should peek, and that is the right option. They have control, they have time, they have everything they need, and now the smoke is just going to double down on that. Everything is Lycus in this situation, and 6 Karma are going to have to pull something out of their satchel to help them in this victory. As with Handle on back in upper arcade is providing a lot of Overwatch. 6 Karma still hiding in cash are now officially going to enter. Pachito is able to take out Cryptix, but has to drop down, has to provide some coverage for those other entering players. Morph finds one as Rios is going to peek, drops one. Can he get the second? He cannot. And as now the timer is in single digits, Soko gets a flash. Can they take out the Wamai? They can. Candle started off the round. Can they finish it? They don't even have to get a kill to get that. Korbeck, just stay alive, stay away from your opponents, and Lycus gets the lead for the first time tonight.
To jump back into what you were saying about how slow 6 Karma moves at the start of the round, that is the second timeout now out of 3 that they've had to end a round, and that's not boding particularly well for the speed of their performance right here. Feels to me like they really need to up their tempo, Pyros. Like, I don't know what it is, and I don't know necessarily why they're taking so so long, I guess I should say. I'm going to pay a little bit more close attention to exactly kind of the stages that they're going through here on these attacks, but they've got to pick up speed somewhere in this mix. It's not as if they don't have the tools in place to make these fast attacks. They just don't seem to really be hitting a timetable that works for them.
It's surprising. I've casted both of the 6 Karma, the one against Outlast and the one against Aerial Rise. And one thing that we always harped on with this team was their speed, how that can go against them. And we're seeing nothing of the sort. No speed, and still that's coming to hurt them. They have to pick it up somewhere. Have to get... I mean, a 4-2 isn't very desirable, but I think getting that here up against this team... 6 Karma should pick it up on the defense, even if they go 4-2. It's just about getting that second round. And there's nothing really indicating that they can. Maybe this is the site. Maybe if they take top floor control and force Lycus back inside of the site with a considerable amount of time, there's a chance. But we haven't really seen that in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, fair play. And I don't think, 6 Karma should struggle necessarily to pick up another round. I think it's well within their wheelhouse to be able to do it. It's just a can they, I guess, more than a will they. Anyway, Soko here, beginning the entry. Aki will drop down on the outside edge there as well and start setting up for a more elevated attack. You've got him going in both horizontally and vertically here, just trying to close down space. Good bit of drone work right there. Brios has been pinged out early on, or at least figured out early on, a sort of desperate nitro cell thrown, and getting shot from the window as well. So they are very much hunting down that smoke player right now to the best of their ability, before rotating it kind of across the board here and maybe reshifting things to a little bit more of a vertical attack level. That said, Morph is going straight in for it, going to go ahead and blow a wall into throne room. And did it not go off? That's a little bit surprising.
Got impacted.
Oh, I didn't see the denial there from Aggro. I didn't see him move into position. So yeah, sure enough, Aggro doing a good job holding it off right there. And is Aggro the only defender on site right now? I'm beginning to think that they might be. Nah, look at those long-range impact throws from Aggro. No wonder he was able to deny it from such range. But finally, the hunt for Butte is over. They will bring down Brios right there. It's been a rough defensive half here for the Mute player. 0-4 across the board. And here comes the press. Morph stepping in and getting another one. And now a 3v5 situation here for 6 Karma.
And Brios hasn't had a great map so far, but you know who has? handle. They have to be the one to really turn this around as Cryptic gets it started for Lycus, but Soko with the small hole through that soft wall is going to find a refrag, and there is nowhere for Cryptics to go, and that's the round that you and I talked about that 6 Karma needed, and they played it very well, but it felt like Lycus didn't really have... They bent a lot, and they eventually broke, and 6 Karma were just able to play a little bit of force, and then eventually they got their round. As we push over to office initiation, this was the round that 6 Karma got, but my, oh my, they almost blew it.
To kind of look at 6 Karma when what happened right there. First of all, I do want to say I do think 6 Karma was a lot more efficient with their time management on that last round. They very clearly had a plan. They very clearly pushed for it. I will say, though, I think they were enabled a little bit by Lycus Empire's defensive setup. Lycus Empire playing that very kind of off-site defense, really spread out to various corners of the map. The obvious goal right there, right, was to get their roamers engaged early on to find opportunistic kills and to sort of slow the pacing here of the 6 Karma attack back down to levels that felt more comfortable. And I think when you spread yourself that thin, you always run into the vulnerability of what essentially happened, which was just, Morph punched a hole right through, didn't even care. And then suddenly, if you don't get those roamers back in quick fashion, you've just got a bunch of isolated individuals not near the bomb site who the tables are kind of turned on. So that's my sort of like rough assessment, I think, of what went down right there. That said, I mean, Lycus Empire still feels like they're kind of in the driver's seat of this match, but they've got to be very, a little bit more careful, I think, about their own timing in terms of when they want to bring people back to roost. And still no drone defense here against these Roteros for a lot of these rounds, which is allowing a lot of value for Soko on the Flores.
This round is very flimsy. 6 Karma can take back this lead, take away the momentum, all the air in the room that Lycus has gained so far. Bryos is holding down Cafe with that Kiva barrier that goes out. Oh my goodness! A little one tap. Put that on a montage. Akibil goes down. Bryos just takes a small amount of damage from that. And Soko ends up killing Skimsy while trying to get Bryos. Put it on Twitter. I know, Serena, you're watching this. That is one for the Twitter.
It was a beautifully done thing right there. As Soko tries around the corner. Here comes Candle, shoots him in the hand. Soko, though, trying to save the day, won't find it. Out comes the Deagle right there for 2 kills. Soko and Pachito both down. Morph now coming in, has no idea, didn't check the corner. And Ozone gets one of the easiest kills of his entire R6 career right there, just hiding in the side of the room. And Lycus Empire officially back on top in more ways than one there, because the gameplay was immaculate.
Okay, that's the 6 Karma I'm used to. That is what I expect. Less about the result. Lycus Empire were able to match them, but that is more the pace that 6 Karma is used to, would usually bring to the attack. I just don't think they were ready for a lot of what 6 Karma, or excuse me, what Lycus actually brought to the table in that situation. As we head over here, see a lot similar attackers, especially with that Miro, with that smoke, a lot of holding down key choke points. It's what you would expect from this Storm's area. This is 6 Karma's last chance to find an equalizer, really take away everything that Lycus has built, because I think if we do end up at 3-3, that's a 6 Karma victory. Lycus has built so much over the course of this half that if they don't end up with a 4-2, it's going to feel like a disappointment.
That's an interesting prospect. I agree. I mean, as the defender, right, 4-2 is the sweet spot, in my opinion. Anything more than that is icing on the cake. Anything less is a bit disappointing. But I do think that there's a fair chance that when 6 Karma gets the defensive turn, they'll have the strong advantage. I wouldn't rule Lycus Empire out on the attack necessarily just yet. I really appreciate, on that last round in particular, how aggressive Lycus Empire was, especially Candle, right? Just kind of grabbing them by the belt there, holding on really tight, getting those aggro kills, and sort of forcing Six Karma to play at the tempo that was being set by Lycus Empire. And I think it's very discombobulating, especially for a team that's already kind of going sort of slow when they try to pick up the pace and suddenly their opponents just match them. That makes things very difficult indeed. But we are, I think, by the way, back to more of that slow tempo here from Six Karma because they're definitely taking their time on this one.
Yeah, well, last time we saw somebody enter the building very quickly, it was Bryos getting taken out without anything to really do about it. Drones are sending through Cafe. It's being sent through Cafe with Bryos finding at least one kill on the board. Can they get their second? No. It's Soko who continues to detriment Bryos KD on this map. They trade some damage for it, but taking out a key player in that key position is going to be worth everything. It's just about now aggressing from that catch side, maybe putting in a little bit more pressure if the pinch is the go-to play, but it seems like it's an all-out horde coming from that western side. But if they don't execute it well, it is going to be a bloodbath for this attacking team, but one less defender might make it a tad easier.
It might indeed. Been very positive so far for Six Karma, building towards that 3-3 that you said you were kind of dreading, but then Candle turns it right back around. And again, that's that aggressive play I was talking about. Unfortunately, looks left when he should have looked right there, and that allows Pachito to slip in and get the kill. Turns it into a 2-3 here between Cryptix and Ozone versus Morph, Pachito, and Skimzy. Little bit of a health disadvantage on the side of Cryptix, but he should, I think, be all right overall. There comes the smoke canister, the last smoke canister that Cryptix has, with about 40 seconds left on the clock. Ozone stepping up, but Morph finds the kill onto Cryptix. That could be the death knell here for the Lycus Empire defense. Ozone trying to keep it alive, finds one. He suffered mightily for that kill, a lot of health lost, and has no idea where Morphed is. I think Ozone is being followed relatively well right there, and there's Morphed again. The Nook coming in clutch, just rolls around the corner and finishes him off. And there is that 3-3 that Six Karma was looking for.
You're giving them too much. They're gonna take that inch and make it a mile. Lycus. It's 3-3. They get to go to Armory Throne Room, which if they hold down that top floor, talked about it, very hard for the attack to actually win that site, and I think that they can do that. This team plays very roam heavy, very in your face, especially on the defense. You can do that so much more on that side compared to the attack, and how Lycus responds to it is going to determine, I think, how this entire map is going to go. Can they match Six Karma for their aggression? Can they win out the gunfights? Or is it just going to be kind of sitting back and waiting for Six Karma to eventually take their lead, take their entire map? As this is a pretty pivotal map. Corbett going up to promotion versus going down to relegation, or not relegation, a chance at getting eliminated. I've been watching too much Ted Lasso. They're talking about relegation so much. You want to make sure that you stay the top dog, which is another Ted Lasso reference. I got to stop. Look, I'm going through the entire series to watch with my girlfriend.
Very heartwarming stuff. Good for the soul. But we'll see how heartwarming this is going to be here for Lycus Empire. I mean, I don't feel like I have a particularly good baseline for feeling out Six Karma on the defense. Certainly not necessarily on Theme Park. And it's, again, I don't think just the side swap, as much as we want to give them credit, is sort of a definitive, guaranteed, okay, you have all the advantage now. And, ooh, brave try, Skimzy. Unfortunately, the guy you're looking for is on a different rappel. And that is, too, is going to hand Skimzy all the way back. He's not going to want to stay up there. And that, I think, is really actually going to take a dent here out of their coverage. I like the transition down to the horizontal, but I think they droned him almost immediately. He'll get back up to the next level and try for a different angle. And at the very least, Skimzy is wasting time, but here's aggro setting up a potentially very deadly cutoff on this Nook.
No. That can't be true. There can't be no one inside the site. Take out aggro. There is no one inside the site. What is Six Karma doing? I said they were a roam-heavy team. That is not what I meant. Do not dedicate your entire team to roaming on Armory Throne Room, a site that is known for rushes, for taking down teams that do not have coverage on the site. Cheeto is going to try his best to whittle down Lycus's lead, but Six Karma are feeling their mistake right now. Korbeck, they're down 2 players, down site control, and now have to fight their way back. They are essentially cosplaying attackers in this scenario, but Cheeto is able to find one. Can he get coverage from Morph? But Aggro peeks, gets his first kill, gets his second, and now Lycus, they take what they feel is rightfully theirs in this round and move forward with the lead again.
I mean, at the sake of sounding rude, I think that's a relatively nonsensical strategic choice. Like, I don't think that was a good idea. I'll be honest. And I mean, I know you already hit on it, but the irony of it is multiple layers. I mean, first of all, the reason that Six Karma was able to get their win on Armory Throne Room is because their opponents made a similar mistake to a lesser degree, right? And kind of spread their roaming net out too far and left too little in the center. And then to tack onto that, I think that relied very heavily on the idea that the Six Karma roamers would get the drop or the advantage in these 1v1s, because I don't think it's been definitive one way or another whether Six Karma are the better gunners here or whether Lycus Empire are, if I'm being brutally honest. And you're putting everything in the basket, basically, of winning a series of kind of almost winning a series of 1v1s in various places around the map. And it just didn't work out at all. Lycus Empire just ate them alive one by one out there. And then obviously Aggro just forming an anchor point on site. Disastrous round to start Six Karma off on the defense. So disastrous, in fact, like, I'm willing to write that one down as maybe a little bit of an aberration. I don't know that I can take that as the gospel truth of how this defense is going to look here from Six Karma.
No, yeah, that's one that you feel in one round to make some major adjustments. Say, okay, we're like going to get some roots, tree roots, plant them inside of the site. Maybe get 1 player, get 2 players. You are saying here, sit, stay, good dog, do not move, because you cannot make a mistake that massive throughout the rest of the map, because we're getting late into the game. If Lycus get 1 more round, it is going to be that map point. They're getting closer to that map point series, which you really want to stay away from as an opponent.
Right, and boy, I think that Six Karma, you just shake that off, right? Shake that off. It's okay. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. You're back on the ball. You're on a different bomb site. You can play this a little bit differently. And hey, presto, they're doing something very similar here. They've got nobody home on the second bomb site they're playing, even though it's just been, I mean, I guess it's less bad. Yeah, it's less bad on this bomb site because it's a little bit harder to get to. But, like, I feel like the lesson was illustrated last map, like last site. I don't know if you just kind of don't pay attention to that. They didn't even have anybody really in the general area. As Skimzy waits very patiently here for somebody to walk into the gun site. Ozone getting taken out early by Cheeto, and that's exactly what they needed here on the side of Six Karma. To lighten the load just a little bit. Jumps out and goes for the kill through the Gemini. You love to see it. That's Candle making another unfortunate boo-boo right there. Skimzy getting the better of the other team's gunner. Akabil getting in on the action as well. Finds one more, and like his Empire, the wheels come across off the attack here. Brios, the only one left alive in the 1v4. And, well, I think you're just playing for pride at this point in time here, Light Rose. I don't know what more else you could do.
Yeah, no diffuser, no map control. You spot 1 player, but you don't get anything because of that shield. One onto Soko, but now the entire team knows exactly where you are, and there comes the peak. Six Karma, they make some changes, but a lot more of Lycus' attack came for the roamers, where Six Karma's strength lies, and that's why we saw them really take care of that team in that round. I think now's the time where I want to talk about Lycus and Woos. Woos helped Lycus throughout the entire NA Open LCQ, I believe Phase 1. He is now on another team, and Lycus have had aggro back, and I think Woos is an amazing player. Woos is right now one of my favorite players to watch in T3. It's kind of like what Hat was in T2. Now he's in Pro League. Woos is a little bit like that. Very good, very mechanically skilled, and Lycus really used that There was a lot of clips that Wooz was the star of, but now that they don't have him, I think they're lacking a little. Handle is great in his own right, but Wooz has that special sauce to him that it felt like they missed when they went up against, I believe it was GGG in their most recent matchup of the Phase 2 NA Open. They just haven't really been the same since. I think a win against Six Karma and a Defiant win at that could really bounce them back, but it feels like they're missing something in my heart, and I really want to see it back.
And I don't think that's necessarily an unfair assessment. And if you look at the comparison between the two teams here, right, Lycus Empire and Six Karma, Morph and Pachito are both on 10 and 10 right now. Or, not 10 and 10, both on 10 kills right now. You look over on the side of Lycus Empire, and really the only standout is Candle, right? Who is, like you said, good in their own way. But you do feel like they're kind of missing that other piece, right, in that fragging setup. Just somebody who's almost there or in the same kind of ballpark would be, I think, very useful for this side. But it's not what they've got, so they've got to work with what they have. And beginning their attack here by, again, once more trying to establish a little bit of vertical control. Look to those hatches. Do love this positioning that's coming down here out of the Cryptics. Just sort of kind of trying to pull defenders away on the low ground. And once more, you see Pachito kind of pressing outwards with this smoke, trying to play that a little bit more aggressively rather than staying close to home and playing the traditional anchor role.
So far in this game, we have not seen a team take more than one round. It's always been trading between each other. I think we just barely missed. I think they barely missed each other. Aggro and Skimzy. That Nook has been so sneaky this entire game. Whether it's been Lycus, whether it's been Six Karma, she's always just made her way on to very close to the site. But Bryos taking out Soko gives Lycus the potential boon they need to go for this execution. But it's a couple kills from the side of Six Karma. Pachito and Akabil, one is traded out by Ozone. But right now, this round really is on a razor's edge. One kill can tip it one way or the other.
Yeah, right here in the middle, about 1 minute left. Cryptics is pushing up yet again. And this is all very tight. You do get the feeling that it's only going to take one small mistake by either of these sides to sort of tip the balance definitively one way or the other. Lycus Empire are a little spread out from one another, and I think that's a dangerous thing right here, because the only thing that could really make up for some sort of mistake is a fast and a rapid trade response. And I just don't think they're in a position to do that. Time crunch is getting real here too, as well, Light Rose. I mean, they're down to about 30 seconds right now, and they're not really in a good position to make an assault on the bomb site.
No, they don't have Sledge, they don't have a Buck, they have Cryptics breach charges, which cover a very small portion of the site, and I think somebody is breakdancing. They're on a treadmill up on that second floor. It might have been Cryptics, but they've broken free from their slumber and now can focus on that first side. Akabil goes down, and Six Karma, they have to hold down the site with map control. Morphed in the corner, finds one, and Ozone remains and has nothing to say about the current situation at hand because Six Karma hold down the site with not a lot of vertical coming from the attack, and that's expected. They just got shut down up on that top floor and couldn't adjust with how much time was left.
It took them too long, I think, to establish the vertical control. I genuinely think it took them too long to set that up. And the problem is, I mean, when you take that long and then you're losing operators the entire time, you're bleeding lives. And the whole point of getting vertical control is that you can push defenders into positions that make it uncomfortable. You can get kills, right? You can disrupt the defense most effectively, but it all requires you to have time to do that. So if you're going to be really slow in your pacing, all that going for vertical control, if you're not moving fast enough, does for you is make it harder for you to get back to the bomb site and finish the job, right? And that's exactly what happened right there. And you could tell that they were pressured because of the way that they entered the site. Six Karma, I mean, it's just a man hiding in a corner. It's not like they were running some elaborate defensive strategy. They've just got a dude waiting around one side, and if you look right, you get shot in the back of the head, and that's exactly what happened. So, rough. That was a rough round for like Empire. I think they can do better, honestly. And hopefully, the sincere hope would be, if you're an LE fan, they'll take advantage of this round, just kind of pull the bounce back right here. But Skimzy has just been hunting for one of these early round kills this entire time. And if he gets one, it's really going to set things up poorly. Fortunately there for LE, he just can't seem to quite do it every time he tries. It never really works out.
My heart skips a beat when I see that run out. Skimzy just always loves to play the dangerous game with those runouts, making such bold plays, and it can get amazing things, but it can almost get you killed. Like, Skimzy was milliseconds away from getting shut down on the outside and giving Lycus essentially a free entry pick. That's why I love watching Six Karma. They just do so not careful things. Like, they throw all of that caution out the window in certain scenarios and just do what they can. Do what they do best, which is play a little crazy, and some teams can adapt to that, some teams can't. Lycus, I don't know if they're just feeling the Neutron style right now, but Six Karma have gotten 2 rounds in a row. They broke that pattern that I talked about, and if they can continue, get 3, and well, it is going to be Lycus. Their feet up against the burner. Morph goes down as the sneaky Nook rears her head once again, with Bryos finding one in this second half. He has really gotten something. And now Six Karma, yeah, I don't understand how Pachito did not get that kill, but it's just going to make Six Karma feel a lot more worse in this round.
Yeah, the pressure is real now. It's going to be really hard for, I mean, you know, if anyone can do it, it's going to be probably one of the guys who can make this turn around, but it's going to be really rough. The only advantage really going for the Oryx here is I think they have very little tracking of where he is right now. Skimzy can basically jump out from around the corner. There's Brios actually pulling up the gun because he hears the noise, and, well, the game's up here for Skimzy. Too many bullets, not enough targets. That'll be 1 kill and an immediate trade, and Lycus Empire keeping it even. Oh my, they're just going back and forth here on this theme park.
I love it. I love to see the back and forth between these two teams. We're guaranteed max regulation. We have to go into overtime. I don't want to jinx it. I want to go into overtime. I want to see these two teams get pushed to their very best in this situation. Even though this isn't a very high stakes game, we're not seeing who gets eliminated. We're not seeing who gets promoted. This isn't playoffs. We're still in the middle of the entire Swiss stage. But you can see these two teams are battling for who will be the better team as well. Because that's essentially what you're doing in a lot of these games. You're figuring out who is the better team, and you can use that measurement going forward. People can use that to measure you against different teams, and I think these Six Karma is a great comparison for Lycus Empire and vice versa. And you and I talked about, we didn't really know who would come out on top. We can make our predictions, but only the game will actually tell. And both of these teams really vying for it. You could feel the adrenaline surging through their keyboard and mic.
Yes. Feel the adrenaline surging through me.
What happened there?
I don't know. Fire. Fire is what happened.
Fire burn.
Happens to the best of us. It's man's greatest friend and his greatest foe. Fire. Anyway. Oh, look, it's Skimzy trying to get an early kill again. No luck that time. We'll be back when Skimzy tries to get an early kill in its regular scheduled time, which is the beginning of round 12. You might actually pull it off that time. No luck again. It's just the dice are not in his favor right now. He's tried so many times. Road work coming in right there, and aggro eats the roamer alive. You hate to see it if you're on the side. Oh, that was rough. You hate to see it if you're a Six Karma fan. You really do. Just caught him looking right there, and that's going to set things in a bit of an ugly position here from the start.
I mean, I'm not saying Skimzy kind of deserved it, but he finally gets punished for playing like a
been playing fast and loose for a lot of rounds. Speaking of, wow.
Yeah, no, that was kind of threading the needle with Bryos. So you make sure aggro's kill doesn't have too monumentous of an impact, but now that Candle has gotten that kill onto the player inside of control, I guess Soko just did not back off. That was the one problem. We can see another engagement that has to go Six Karma's way. Aggro finds 2 kills. Is going to prep a frag grenade, and Morph might not be long for this world, but they back up just in time for that frag grenade to blow up, and now they actually retreat back to their friend, Pachito. The best situation right now is camaraderie. Six Karma needs to rely on each other. You cannot really rely on refrags because you are down in man count, when sometimes that's really all the thing you can rely on. Still looking for potentially one more kill, and it comes from Akabil's gun.
You hate to lose Candle at this stage in the round in such a close match as well. Could be a lot worse. Akabil here playing off of the windows, leaning out of the break room. Gets another one. Ozone, though, levels it back up. Now Aggro back into the action, and this Nook of Aggro has been a demon here for this Six Karma side. They are just not able to exercise whatever Aggro has summoned up. 2-1, 40 seconds left in the round. Everything down to Pachito, but Pachito, the top fragger on the team, tries to make it happen with Ozone, doesn't quite hit it. The Carbine betraying its master there at the most critical moment. Rolls around the corner again, and okay, Ozone, how did you not know you got shot, buddy? That's the only thing. It's not like you had to get that down. Now a very tense 1v1 here. The top fragger versus the resurgent Aggro. Who's going to emerge here on top? Hell Present popping out right there, rolling around. They're both guessing, checking. Nobody can quite seem to find exactly what they want. Pachito trying to bait off the diffuser a couple of times, and it's a head-to-head, and Pachito wins it out for Six Karma and pushes them on to match point. What a clutch right there.
What a key play as well from Pachito. The 1v2 Aggro on fire, seeming like nobody can stop him, and you humble him in the perfect moment. Put yourself on map and match point. And it's Lycus. Their backs are up against the wall, and they have to attack Armory Throne Room. And that's with an asterisk, because that is implying Six Karma are actually on the site itself. I know that they could win. We've seen Lycus really tumble on the site, walk on in, take their man, take names, everything. But it's still Armory Throne Room. It's still such a good site for the defense. And so you still have to feel like there is something in this team that can spur them on to win. But maybe patterns are just too strong to break. Lycus, with their backs up against the wall, a lot of times that team is going to come out on top when they feel like they have the most pressure. Pressure makes diamonds.
Oh, no. I hate that saying.
Why?
It belongs on the wall of high school classrooms and the kitchens of middle-aged white women. We're not going to have that here. I protest. Anyway.
No, all right. We'll agree to this one.
Well, that's fine. I mean, you're not wrong. Scientifically, you are correct. It's just the usage of the term that bothers me. But irregardless, match point here. Lycus Empire, they got to find the wherewithal from somewhere. By God, Skimsy has forsaken the Church of Oryx here, and actually forsaken the Church of the early attempted spawn peak as well. And that's fundamentally shifted my understanding of reality. I don't really know what up is or down anymore, for that matter. They've got the Ying here as well. I mean, honestly, they're sort of setting themselves up for a light rush. They've got Ying, they've got the Twitch drones here to clear it out, but there's the early kill, and Skimsy, well, he gets one in the end. I was just saying he'd forsaken it. I guess I spoke too soon, because he's right there. He does not deny it. He'll take out Cryptics early on, and that is, by as far as I can tell, the only hard breacher that was available to Lycus Empire on this critical attack.
We haven't seen Skimsy get a good spawn peak at all this entire match. Match point. The only hard breach on Armory, Throne, and Skimsy finally strikes. It feels poetic. It feels like it was written in a script. And with Skimsy walking into labs, almost gets a good shot onto another player. If they can hold down for potentially another 20, 25 seconds, you have to feel like Six Karma really have all the momentum that they need. They have a lot now that Cryptics is gone, and they just need to hold down. There goes Bryos walking into the bullets of Skimsy, who had a great little pre-fire. Is the second one there? No, barely missing the head, and now Aggro playing dangerous on the window. Does pull off for just a second, but committing to that window is a dangerous play. Down 2 men.
I hate to say it, but these early kills from Skimsy have pressed a sort of sense of desperation into the side of Lycus Empire. I think you can feel it just in the way that Aggro was playing that window. So not typical of the way that they've been playing the Nook. Very surgical, very sneaky. Instead, just trying to get into a sort of face-to-face gun battle right there to very limited effect. This is not unwinnable for Lycus Empire, but it is certainly a challenge on a very strong bomb site in a very high-tensity situation. It's just, what can you do? They're playing so separate from one another as well, which is just even more problematic. And here's a potential ambush walking right in through the door. Skimzy bites off more than they can chew. Candle gets that kill and perhaps keeps the dream alive. 25 seconds left on the clock, and you are running out of time and running out of options. Remember, no hard breach available here for the members of Lycus Empire, so they're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. And the old-fashioned way, they're setting up the defense for that specifically. 11 seconds left on the clock. Here comes a nade dump as Candle picks up another one. 7 seconds now. The pressure intense, mounting. No! Aggro goes down on the door! And it all goes to disaster there for Lycus Empire, and 6 Karma picks up a much-needed win here at SFCL.
And a great comeback. It felt like they didn't have everything they needed at the beginning, but they kept it together, had a 3-3 half, and then I kind of called it. Quarterback, their defense was something different when they didn't play a little too silly for their own good. Yes, I am looking at that armory round. We will not talk about it. 6 Karma, they get the lead, they get the victory, and they get a chance to be promoted into playoffs, and they are the first team to do that. Right now, Lycus are the first team to have a chance at getting eliminated, but they get a good little couple days off. That is the end of their time in this round, and honestly, a beautiful match. Loved seeing both sides. Felt like 6 Karma really earned their victory and earned going to the next round.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel a bit bad for Lycus Empire because I don't think that they played on the whole that badly overall. It's just that in such a close map, there has to be a loser, right? And this time they just made a few mistakes there on their attacking half that I think 6 Karma was all too happy to capitalize on. And, you know, I'll give some credit to 6 Karma. They were running that very kind of aggressive attacking pattern the entire time they were on the defense, never hesitating to take their gunfights and take their advantage. And it won out for them in the end. And that final round in particular, those 2 early kills, Light Rose, so disruptive and basically broke the back of the attack before it could even begin.
Yeah, and even though, like, we had Lycus go down, I wasn't really able to shout out Aggro, and I think we will as we get up stats, because Aggro had 0 kills throughout the entire first half, and we saw Aggro go nuts in the second half on Nook. We're not going to get stats, so I still will definitely hype up Aggro, because I feel like he does not get enough credit for what he was able to do in that second half on Nook, in the entries, in just a lot of these rounds, keeping Lycus actually in the entire match. So even though they lost, Aggro, yeah.
Yeah, definitely was good on the Nook play, and I think that, like I said at the time, the sign to me that things had gone wrong for Lycus Empire was when Aggro was playing just very kind of in-your-face aggressive on that Nook, trying to turn it around rather than the style that I think had been so much more effective for that particular operator the entire time. And I mean, I'll give credit to Lycus Empire. Even in that last round, they did do a good job of coalescing back together. They just didn't have the pieces they needed to really breach it, the time or the pieces. Given them another minute, perhaps, at that stage, yeah, maybe they could have done it, but it just wasn't there.
I think what I put an interview with a 6 Karma player. I know that I love talking to the 6 Karma players. They are such a great team to talk about, and it is going to be with Limpo quarterback. Have you had the honor of doing a 6 Karma interview before?
No, I've never had a chance to talk to any of the 6 Karma players, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes there. I'm interested to get some insights there into what they were looking for from their side of the match, because this was a close one and an important one for both these teams. So I imagine it was tense for them. Even if they are, a squad of professionals, they have to have been sweating a little bit going into this one.
I mean, they are one of my favorite teams to kind of root for. As a caster, I do have to be unbiased, but I'm always just a little bit of a 6 Karma fangirl, because there's something about it. They're not an MX Pro League team anymore. They're a LATAM Pro League team, so they've got that status behind them, and now they come into NAT3 with SES. They're still here. in SFCL, and I just love seeing some lesser known teams in NA, or at least in the Americas, kind of make their way through, slap some teams around, including Lycus Empire, and then just they seem like they're having a fun time doing it. I mean, Skimzy doing all that, you got to enjoy playing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they do have a particular play style that I think is very entertaining, and it was fully on display tonight. The Skimzy peaks, I think, were a great illustration of it. You know, that kind of just very fearless, very aggressive style of defense where they really don't hesitate to hold angles or hold spots for what you would say was almost like a dangerously a long amount of time, and then they always manage to coalesce though in the end. So I appreciate that as well. And even if we look back across their defensive rounds in particular, I think at least one of them, the very first one where they were all off the site, I'd be comfortable kind of discluding that from the rest of how things went for them, because I do feel like it was an aberration. And I think I said at the time, I was like, I'm not willing to sort of peg the entire Six Karma defensive half on that, just because we know that they have a lot of potential. But hopefully we'll get a chance to hop into this interview soonish. I think they're having a little bit of technical issue. Oh, okay. We're ready right now. I got to do that. We're ready right now, so let's go ahead and jump into the interview. Welcome aboard, Olympo. Congratulations on your win right there. That was a fun match for us to watch. We enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it's a fun match.
We're happy to
tough.
have you.
A little tough, but...
a little tough. I was gonna ask, actually, how did you see that match going? Because you knew the respective positioning of the two teams going into it. Did you think that was gonna be as close as it was?
I mean, we still have a competition on the LATAM League, so we're trying to play very different maps, not showing a little too much of the maps because of that. So we're really playing just that. So can be a really tough match for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I think, in the course of kind of what we saw. And I got to ask, I guess, it was interesting. Both Lyros and I noticed it. We saw Skimzy going for those early round peaks again and again on the defense. What kept him going back to the well on those? Because it was not working a lot of the time. And then when it finally did work, like on that last round, it was so impactful. I was just curious, what was the discussion going on there?
I mean, the team on particular LATAM region is a mix from Argentine players, Mexican players, and now Brazilian players. So it's hard to balance all the different styles sometimes to play this kind of tournament. So we also need to create more synergy between us. The Argentinian guys that play every day with the BR, it's an experience for us. So it's a matter of time that we create our own style that can be any styles in the different regions of the world. Like,
yeah, no, that's fair. That's a very interesting answer, honestly, because I know that you guys have gone through some sort of transitions and changes, and you added those new players. Overall, how do you feel that the process of kind of meshing together those different styles that you were talking about, how do you feel that that's going for you? You guys beginning to feel more comfortable with one another as you play?
I mean, I think for us it's gonna take time because, like I said, all the different styles that merge together, we have to create like a synergy between all the styles and create our own style. So we last week against Ariel Rise, you know, it's a really good team. They beat us like fair. So they beat also Mirage. So I mean, they're a really good team. And if you remember, Brazil take a while and be a great region as a whole. So I think with all these new international events that we are going to participate as a region, I think we're gonna grow very fast. We in many maps we are too close to the Brazilian teams with one round to make to the major and something like that. So I think it's gonna take a time, but no a very long time, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a journey we're all looking forward to watch, because I do love seeing you guys play. I know a lot of people love seeing you guys come up here and kick some butt, and it's always very entertaining from our end. I guess just a last question for you. You know, a close match, Lycus Empire, they were playing pretty hard. I could tell that you guys were invested in it. You mentioned that this was maybe a little bit out of your wheelhouse. You're trying to change things up. At the end of the day, what do you think that the main difference factor was here? Like, what pushed you over the edge of this razor-thin margin?
I think our gunfights are pretty good. So I think when all the other things that have a little rough, we always depends on the gunfight. So I think the players that we have are really good, so they always have the clutch factor, you know.
The clutch factor. That's right. It was on display tonight. That's for sure. Well, last chance. Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to highlight for their performance here tonight? I'll go ahead and give you the floor.
I mean, we shout out all the guys on the team. They play really hard, and we are screaming a lot. So shout out to them and the staff also.
All right, fair enough. Thank you so much for your time, Olimpo. I look forward to watching you 6K boys continue to work it out here. It's always a pleasure.
A pleasure to us also. Thank you.